Hello, my name is Dylan Harper, and for this week's posting, we did a case study on Chapter 8, which is gender equity. And mostly being involved with gender equity, a lot of people do think of Title IX, and that is the case that I chose. I chose 8.6, which is Kelly versus Board of Trustees, and this is your typical Title IX case about eliminating a sport. So on May 7th, 1993, the University of Illinois announced that it intended to terminate 4 varsity athletic programs, including the men's swimming team, effective July 1st of 1993. So, with that being said, our plaintiff in this case, on May 25th, William Kelly, part of the men's swimming team, and also he is supporting or the plaintiff for all the men of the swimming team, are bringing up that prior to terminating, they brought a suit against the Board of Trustees of the university, its chancellor, athletic director, and associate athletic director, alleging that the defendants violated Title IX of the Education Amendment of 1972, as well as the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. To also start, they sought out damages and as well as an injunction prohibiting the defendant from terminating the men's swimming team. With that being said, in response, the defendants filed a motion to dismiss, which the parties agreed to convert to a motion for summary judgment. And so the request for a preliminary injunction and receiving affidavits in support of the defendants' motion for a summary judgment, the district court granted summary judgment in favor of the defendants and found that the request for a preliminary injunction was therefore moot. The plaintiffs now appeal that. So it first started off, their first injunction was denied, and now they start out with one loss for the plaintiffs. So in their appeal, the Title IX of the Education Amendment provides that no person shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity other than those specifically described in the Act receiving federal financial assistance. So that is basically what Title IX is in 1 to 2 sentences. And so that is what they are basically suing, is they basically feel like they were terminated based off of being a male sports team. So whenever you go through, and in 1974, the Congress requested implementing the provisions of Title IX, including with respect to intercollegiate athletic activities, reasonable provisions consider the nature of particular sports. With that being said, there were nine factors that an institution may violate Title IX solely by failing to accommodate effectively the interests and abilities of student athletes of both sexes. So basically, when it comes down to, according to these policies and the interpretation, an institution has effectively accommodated the interest of its male and female students if it satisfies one of the 3 benchmarks. So basically, there's a 3-pronged test that basically will tell you if you are in violation of Title IX. You must meet one of the 3 prongs. A university must meet one of the 3 prongs of Title IX in order to be in accordance with Title IX laws. That first one is whether intercollegiate level participation opportunities for male and female students are provided in numbers substantially proportionate to their respective enrollments. So basically what it's saying is if you have 50% men and 50% women enrolled in your institution, you must have in proportion 50% men and 50% women in your athletic sports teams. 2, where the members of one sex have been and are underrepresented among intercollegiate athletics, whether the institution can show a history and continuing practice of program expansion that is demonstrably responsive to the development interests and abilities of the members of that sex. Pretty self-explanatory is if your programs are showing improvement throughout the years in that sex, that is the second prong. The third prong, where members of one sex are underrepresented among intercollegiate athletics, and the institution cannot show a continuing practice of program expansion, whether it can be demonstrated that the interests and abilities of the members of the sex have been fully and effectively accommodated by the present program. So basically it's showing that if they are underrepresented, is the institution bringing in more sports to help with that specific sex. So, looking at that, 10 years ago, the Office of Civil Rights determined that the University of Illinois had denied its female students equal athletic opportunities, and basically they gave them time to fix this before they were in violation of Title IX, and they were able to fix that, and they were not in violation of Title IX. A decade later, female participation in intercollegiate athletics at the University of Illinois continued to be disproportionate. So in 1993, 44% of the student body of the university was women, and in the athletics, only 23.4% were women. So they're already denying or failing that first prong of not being. So technically, by that prong, they are violating Title IX. But so when it comes down to what they had to do for budgets, they were in the backdrop, and they had to have budget cuts. This took into consideration before they had a bowl game that their football team made that brought them $600,000. This was before they even knew that was coming or would come. So when they realized that they had to reduce athletic costs, they went through and determined how to cut certain teams. So basically, under the budget considerations, the defendant Morton Ware, who is the chancellor of the university, his decision was relied on the recommendation of the Athletic Board of Control, which was advised by the Chancellor on Athletic Issues, which in return was recommended by Ronald Gunther, the athletic director. And some of his criteria that he went by was whether or not the Big Ten Conference and the National Collegiate Athletic Association sponsor a championship in that sport, whether the tradition of success of the sport at the university, the level of interest and participation, the adequacy of the university's facilities for the sport, the level of spectator interest in the sport, gender and ethnic issues, and the cost of the sport. Those were about the 7 main criteria that Mr. Gunther went through when trying to figure out which teams he should have to cut. And basically, men's swimming team was selected because the program was historically weak. Swimming was not a widely offered athletic activity in high schools, and it does not have a large spectator following. So basically, men's swimming, it did not meet hardly any of the criteria that he went through, and by his criteria and the knowing that he had budget cuts, he felt that was a way of cutting athletic costs. Now, where it comes into Title IX is because they kept the women's swim team. And so basically, what it was saying that by only cutting the men's swimming team, they stayed out of the risk of violating Title IX. If the university had terminated the women's swimming team, it would have been vulnerable to finding that it was in violation of Title IX, which basically they would have been in violation of that, substantially being disproportionate to the female enrollment. If they cut another women's team, that 24% would have dropped even more. But however, the men's swimming team program, men's swimming program without violating Title IX, since even after eliminating the program, the men's participation in athletics would continue to be more than substantially proportionate to the presence in their university student body. So even regardless of getting rid of the men's swimming team, they were still very highly in violation of that Title IX. But going through, the plaintiffs still contented and still want to go at it, and they brought up that, well, if you're going to cut universities on basically making statisticals off of women being in athletics, then they should look at cutting women in academics. And the Congress basically saw that as ridiculous, but it did recognize that addressing discrimination in athletics presented a unique set of problems. As it went through, they went back and forth for a lot, and basically what happened is the courts decided in favor of the defendants. Compliance with the Title IX, this court does not have the authority to condemn it, and the plaintiffs claim that the University of Illinois violated Title IX when it terminated the men's swimming program is therefore rejected. So basically going through, they did not violate Title IX, and why they got rid of the men's swimming team, it was purely off of the fact that off the criteria they used, that was a team that they had to cut. and to not be in violation of Title IX, they kept the women's swimming team. In my opinion, I mean, yeah, it's very crappy what happened, but being here at William Woods and understanding we have to comply with Title IX just as much. That's why we are not, at William Woods, we do not meet prong one with the proportionality. We have a lot of men's players that is over proportionate to the enrollment. So therefore what we did is we had to find it in prongs 2 and 3. So we have continuously added sports. We just recently added men's and women's tennis a year ago. They have thoughts of bringing back a swimming team. They have thoughts of bringing back men's volleyball. Just assuring that we may not meet prong 1, but we will meet one of the other 3 prongs. So therefore we're always not in violation of Title IX, and that's what the instance of the University of Illinois did. They stayed in Title IX while also they had to cut sports budgets regardless. It's just crappy that it happened to be men's swimming team. So all in all, the courts decided in favor of the defendants, being the Board of Trustees of the University of Illinois, the Chancellor, Athletic Director, and Associate Athletic Director, that they were not in violation of Title IX, and therefore were not wrong in cutting men's swimming team. Thank you.